this tip of the week, so we're going to talk about what I'll call the State of the Union tonight. So this is something, State of the Union is something that I started to do presentations on around 2008. So when I first started investing in 2003, the market was in a pattern where it was going up. So there was no need for a State of the Union. When the market's going up, usually people are paying less attention. But when the market crashes and you go into the worst recession that probably anyone in this room has ever lived through, all of a sudden everyone wants to know what's happening next and what is the State of the Union and when are we going to get out of this and get on to the next step. So I've been doing this presentation. Obviously, I adjust it every single time we get together for the latest data that we have. Guys, I see some of you guys joining us. We have one seat right there and two kind of right here. So thanks for, again, crowding in tonight. Appreciate that. So as we go through the presentation tonight, what the market looks like, we are in a very different environment than we have been probably since the 1980s. And I'm curious, how many of you guys in here were investing in the 1980s? How many of you guys were even born? All right, a couple of you guys, good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what happened last year and what we expect to happen this year. And as we go through the market update tonight, I'll go through the exact numbers for all of the 4 major metros that we have here in Texas. But let's talk about how 2022 started. Did 2022, for those investors, realtors, brokers in the room, bankers, did it started out like the best year that's ever happened? This is the interactive part. Yes. It was the best. It was the best of the best. It was the best of times, without question. And then somehow 2022 also became the worst of times, okay? We're writing novels in here tonight. I will tell you that full year sales for Texas, so this is the number for all of Texas, they were down 11.4% year over year. What do you guys think about that? That's kind of painful, right? But if we really dig into it, what were the numbers really?
It's a comparison to 2021.
No, this is a comparison 2022 to 2021. Yes, yeah. But how did we start 2022? We started 2022 with sales that were 10, 15% above our sales in 2021, right? How did we end 2022? Did we end at 11.4? That was the total number, but we were ending some of the last months of 2022 with sales that were down 30% year over year. Do you know the last time it was that we experienced sales that were down 30% year over year? That would have been 2009, 2010, 2011. We took a 30% haircut then. You know, and what's wild about that is that there was so little optimism in the market back then. And there's so much more about it right now, which I kind of find very interesting, which is fantastic. So full year sales were down 11.4%. The average price, though, was still up 10.7%. How could you have had sales down up to 30% in November, December? How could you end the year down 11.4% and still have that average price up 10.7%, which is about double of the historical 40-year average, where we're normally somewhere around 5-6% increase in sales price? How could that happen? How does that make sense? Someone explain it to me.
Pressure of low volume.
Low volume? Why were sales prices still up?
No supply.
No inventory. No inventory. We started the year in some markets with less than 1 month's supply of inventory. What does that mean? You guys are all familiar with days on market, yes? And I want to be clear about this, because a lot of people think days on market is different than what it actually is. A lot of people think days on market is this is how long it takes a property to sell. The truth is that this is how long it went from being active to when it went pending. There's extra time between pending and actually getting to the finish line, and not everybody still gets to the finish line even after it goes pending. So the reason why they don't count that is sometimes it's 15 days, sometimes it's 45 days, depending on what? Financing, title issues, you know, all of those things that kind of mess up a sale. So in a typical market, you guys are familiar with days on market. In a typical market, when we talk about months of inventory, the 40-year average here in Texas is about a 6-month supply of inventory. That's kind of our market equilibrium. I mentioned that many markets in Texas had about a 1, maybe a 2-month supply of inventory. What does that mean for whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market? It was a seller's market on steroids. It was the best seller's market we'd ever had in the history of the history, right? So because of that, and this is what is so different than what we experienced in 2008, 9, 10, 11. In 2008, 9, 10, 11, how many months of supply of inventory did we have? We got as high as 9 months supply of inventory. Right now, we're still under 3. As long as we're under 3, what are we going to see with sales prices? We're probably going to see them continue to go up. So does that give you some relief? What were builders doing in 2008? What had builders done? Builders had slit their own throats. By doing what? Overbuilding. Overbuilding and selling to more investors than they should, because the investors, in many of the cases, were the ones who were leading the charge down the hill, right? So this time were many of the new home builders selling to investors. They were really trying not to. They were really trying not to. They really only wanted to sell to owner occupants. So, and were builders a little gun shy, even after 10 years of an up market from 2022 to from 2012 to 2022, were builders still a little gun shy? Were builders building as much on spec as they were in 2006, 7, and 8? And the answer was no. So one of the things that's going to save our butts and make this part of the housing market cycle different than what we experienced back then was the fact that we don't have inventory now, and we had too much inventory then. And that's one of the reasons why we will, in some markets, and not in every market, but in some markets, continue to see that increase in year-over-year price. Up until when? At what point are we not going to see that anymore? When inventory gets to that 4, 5, 6 month of inventory mark, we're not going to see any price increases, okay? And some of the markets saw an actual price decrease in December, which for some of those markets was the first decrease that they had seen in maybe 10 years. Okay, so when we get to May of 2023, and we are comparing May 2023 to May of 2022, what do you think those numbers are going to look like? The average price is going to be down. It's going to be down. Why? Because May and June of 2022 were fever pitch. Absolute fever pitch. Okay? Since then, prices in some markets have already dropped 10% from May to December. From May to December, some of those prices have already dropped 10%. Okay? It is normal for prices to drop from May to December. But the normal drop is closer to 3, maybe 4%, okay? Because the real estate is cyclical, right? So it's on a distribution curve, right? It's on a distribution curve, and the same with the prices as well. So that's what we're going to expect, and these are some of the things that I want you guys to keep in mind. Now, again, first half of 2022, sales were not down, sales were up 13.2%. This is through June, this is through the fever pitch. And price was up 14.4%, okay? Through the second half of the year, as interest rates did what? That'd be doubled and doubled and not doubled and doubled, but doubled, more than doubled. Just not the doubling and doubling. It just felt like that to some of us, right? And for those of us who are buying houses with loans, what happened to our PI payment, principal and interest? It's gone up 40% from what it was in March of 2022 to what it is today in January of 2023. Is that a big increase? Yes. Yeah, that's huge. So what is that resulted in? So I did a calculation, a 30% reduction in sales overall. So basically, every time the interest rate went up from 3% to 4%, we had a 7.5% decrease in sales. So what are we forecasted? So in exactly, let's see, 7 days, who's going to get together? The Fed. And what are they going to do? They're going to raise rates. And when they get together in another month after that, what are they going to do? Probably raise rates. Okay. So if that's the case, so they've said instead of doing the 0.75% increase, they'll probably do a 0.5% increase, okay? And if we have at least another 2 of those, we'll probably see sales go down another 7.5%, okay? Now, so this is just going back and dividing, right? So as those rate increases came up, we also saw the sales price increase start to moderate. Moderate, that's a euphemism for what? Really slow down, okay? Really slow down. So instead of seeing those, 14% increases, we were seeing it towards the end of the year, 3, 4, 5% increases, okay? So that is moderating, and it's moderating at pace. It's moderating at speed. So that's something to understand about the market. So by the end of 2022, the sales volume was down throughout Texas, and most of the markets throughout Texas by 30%, and the sales prices were up, but they were only up about 3%. So that's what I want you guys to be aware of in terms of how we started 2022 and how we ended 2022. So I don't think that they have had, or I know that they have not had the speed of the rate increases that we're having going back all the way to like 1980. Okay, so for most of us, this is something that we had previously not lived through before. Now, I'm curious, what do you guys know about what happened in 1980 when it comes specifically to sales prices, the prices? What was happening? I think you missed some of the context here. Yeah, but I appreciate the participation. If you guys could give her the context, and if you could give them the participation, I think we'd have a much better meeting tonight. What was interesting is prices dropped for a tiny little while, and then prices went right back up. In fact, I'm going to show you a graph that proves that, because it almost sounds unbelievable. In fact, it's so unbelievable that I did the research to check it out myself. So I'll share that with you guys as we go through the presentation tonight. So going from a 2.5% to 3% interest rate to a 6.5%, 7% interest rate obviously had a serious effect on sales volume and a serious effect on price, but we have not seen it go negative in most of the markets in Texas as of yet. So again, the reason why prices are holding is because we have a less than 3-month supply of inventory. So that's what we'll continue to see probably for at least first quarter and maybe even second quarter of 2023. And the reason is because this is such an interesting market. Builders have really put the brakes on very quickly, faster than they were able to before. So that's number one. That's actually something that's going to help us all, because it's going to keep inventory low. What's the other black swan to really digging deep and uncovering like why this market's going to survive better than 2008, 9, 10, 11? What is so different about this market? Regulation. Develop that. It's harder to get loans. Exactly. It's much harder to get loans. But what kind of loans are we getting? What kind of loans did we get? 70% of all the loans that are out there are under 4% interest. And this is not, so I mentioned earlier that 87% of statistics are made up on the spot. This is not one of those. Just want to clear that up right away. So 70% of the loans that are in circulation today are under 4%. So what does that mean? How is that going to end up helping us?
Subject to.
Buying subject to, absolutely. But how else? We're always going to buy subject to, always. But how is that going to help? How's that going to help a seller now? Why didn't it help sellers back in 2008, 9, 10, 11? Interest rates in 2008, 9, 10, and 11 were what? 7%, 8%. Some of these investor loans were 9%. Could they cash flow? No. Today's loans, 70% are under 4%. So do they have an opportunity? What do they say? Well, I can't beat them, join them. I'm just going to sit on this property. I'm just going to rent it. I'm just going to Airbnb it. I'm just going to stay here. They have that luxury. Do you guys understand how that's the black swan to understanding why we're not going to be in the same hole that we were back in 2008, 9, 10, 11? You follow that? Less inventory being put on the market. I'm curious, how many of you guys in here have one of those beautiful loans that's under 4%? The interactive part, raise your hands. Yes. Let me tell you something about that loan. Let me tell you something about that house. You will never sell that house. Think about it. You will never sell that house. What is your option? Well, I can go and put down 3 times more than what I put to get into this house, or I can pay a monthly mortgage that's 40% higher principal and interest above what I'm paying today. Yeah, I guess I'll stay here. So what's going to happen is if you are saying, no, I'm not going to stay, here's what instead you will really do. You're going to stay, number one. I know this. But what you're going to say is this. honey, gosh, it's just, you can't get a better house than what we have for the same rate. So, gosh, I mean, I really don't want to stay here, but, you know, this kitchen would look so much better in my favorite colors, granite and stainless steel. Yeah? So, honey, we can do a credit card loan, 6 months, 0% interest, pay it off, move it from one credit card to another. We're going to stay here. Or, I'm going to move. I'm just going to keep this as a rental. 3% interest rates, my friends, and I hear a lot of real estate investors, especially the experienced ones, and realtors and brokers too, especially the experienced ones, they say this thing that I think is test. Yes. Okay. So they say this thing that I think is really cute. They say, well, when interest rates go back down, we'll refinance or whatever it may be, right? So, guys, my friends, I can't see a world where interest rates go back down to 2.5%, 3%, 4%. I just can't see a world where that is the case. Now, if you are a realtor, how many realtors in the room? Just by raise of hands. Okay. If you are a realtor and you are working with a buyer, do you say that to them? Never. Never.
I don't believe it to be true.
You just, what they say, if that's what they say, oh, okay. Okay. So what do we say as realtors to these fine, this is where you guys are going to, do I have permission to say it like it is? For you guys to win? Thank you.
Yes.
Marry the house, date the rate. Yeah, just refinance it when interest rates go down. And the sellers are buying down rates like crazy, are they not? Yes. Why? Because they want to sell. And if they don't, what are they doing? You're seeing a house go from active, price drop, withdrawn, expired, lease for lease. This is the little dance of, oh wow, the market really is changed. The light switch really did go off. Okay. So as sales volume continues to recede and inventory continues to grow, we will see a decrease in price. It's going to happen no later than May, if not earlier, when we're comparing May 2023 to May 2022. Guys, don't be surprised when this happens, and don't think that the sky is falling. Because really, those prices in May of 2022, June of 2022, were those real gains? Those are paper gains. I don't think those were ever really real, right? But I think we will see some price decreases, but it's not that the sky is falling. It's just that we're at a more normal pace than we were before.